All right. Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of JitterTed's TDD game, putting it online. And so that's what we're doing. So for those of you who haven't seen earlier episodes, the TDD game is currently a physical board game. Let me show that to you. So this is what it looks like. Basically has the hex tiles is the board. Got various kinds of cards, action cards here, test result cards here. That's part of the game, and some cards to track how you're doing. And so my goal is to get this game online, since not everybody is always in the same physical place. And so the current mock-up looks like this. Hey there, Victims. Welcome. Looks something like this. This will likely not be the final layout. It's got almost everything that I need from the game in a size that is fairly reasonable. So this is a Figma mock-up. And I basically set it to sort of fit in a 1280 by 720 screen, so that way if you've got a 13-inch laptop, you can still play the game without having to zoom in on everything. So, but we're still a ways off of getting something like this on the screen. My initial sort of immediate goal is to, even if it's just text-based, to get something that is playable by multiple people who are not in the same physical location. Mainly because I'd like to use it. I don't know if it'll be ready when I need it. I'm actually doing a playthrough of the game for some folks, and it would be nice to have this. I probably will not have this. Certainly not looking like this, but something minimal. That's my initial goal. So Vicken says, interested in refactoring some enterprise apps in TDD. What are some books? I would say, so there's a book by Alan Miller about basically TDD and a bit of hexagonal architecture. And I think there's a bit of DDD in there. It's published by Pact. Let's see if I can grab it. So it's called Test-Driven Development with Java, but it's actually, it's got some stuff in there, not just about TDD, but also design and hexagonal architecture, and things like that. So here's the link. Hey, Jonas. And I forgot there's a bug in, not OBS, it turns out, or I can't paste into OBS. I also have a course on the topic, nowhere near as inexpensive as the book, but you can check that out. I will be reopening sales for that. I had hoped to do that last month, but it's looking like I've got something else that came in, so I'll probably not reopen until next month. But you can sign up for the mailing list if you're not already on there, and I'll let you know when it's ready. Yeah, time flies. I should update that though. It's to not, at least not lie anymore. Estimates, right? All right. Let's get into the code. So one thing I figured out, I was having some problems with login. It was really weird, and I was very confused why it was happening. It turned out that, and I'm going to blame AI, the LLMs for this, when it had created this line for dispatcher type matchers. So one of the purposes of this line of code, I'm totally blaming Cody. Actually, I'm not sure if Cody did this or one of the other LLMs, but I'm going to blame ChatGPT since that's, I believe, what they're using underneath. They added one too many entries here. So the idea of this is, look, if you're going to show an error page, don't worry about security. If you're going to process a forward, don't worry about security. Like, those shouldn't be secure. I need to see those. What it had actually added was requests, which is basically every single thing that happens. And so the request would basically be ignored, except when I actually hit the endpoint. And it would just be permit all, right? Because that's what it says, permit all. And then the principal would be null. And so it's like, why is the principal null? And so I'd log out and log back in and it would work fine. So the problem is that it wasn't basically, it had essentially turned off security for all requests. Good evening, Astrid. So anyway, that's fixed. And now it works a lot more the way I would expect, where stuff gets logged in. Yeah, so for the dispatcher type matchers, you can do sort of string-based regex or ant matcher, MVC matcher like things to say error and so on. But from what I understand, these are better because these don't rely on specific strings, but are more about what kind of what kind of request am I processing. So anyway, so that's now working as so we don't want dispatcher type request plus permit all. All right, so what is AI assistant? I don't know. I have no idea what that is. It's packed. I don't know what they're doing. Generally, I have a very low opinion of packed books because for the most part, they just find an author who can churn out stuff and then publish it with not a lot of sort of production editing and technical editing. I've seen some really bad books. And when I see really bad books, a lot of times they're coming from Pact. So Pact, in my head, has a pretty poor reputation. This book, though, I know the author, and I've looked at the book, and so so the book I linked to, I can kind of recommend. But I have no idea what that. So basically, that's whatever this thing is. Yeah. Whoops. I have no idea what this is. So I was here. Okay. It's Cody's brother. Probably Cody's more like Cody's little brother, maybe dog. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, who's this Al person? Why do they keep suggesting things? Okay, so we can close this. We're done with that. Let's run our tests. I don't remember where the heck we are. I've had meetings all morning, and then I'm like, well, I still want to start as early as I can, so I'm just going to dive right in. Oh, right. So this performance thing is actually is new. So I'm actually on the 2024.2 EAP because I like to live on the edge. And so they added this new performance thing, which probably is not what you want for tests, but might be useful for other things. So, but how do I close it? I don't want performance. How do I turn you off? That's interesting. I must have to look at her for a setting somewhere. Physical books. Yeah, I don't know. I used to buy a lot of physical books and wouldn't read them. So yes, it's easier to ignore ebooks, but I'm just as good ignoring both physical and ebooks. All right, so this test is failing. Oh, because we don't have an endpoint. So what's going on here? Because this is null. Yes. So let's go fix that. Because we currently now have in lobby, it uses this player joins game to do its job. So let's go mock that out. The only time I use any kind of mock tool. That's hilarious. It's suggesting song service, which is from a totally different project. You may know what that is. So what we want here is we want player joins game. Okay. So that should fix that. Hey, David Souls. Yes, it's Cody. It's still null. I probably need to not use mockbean. I probably need to have a test configuration. All right, let's do the right thing. Let's create a test configuration. So you already have it as an ebook. Good thing you checked. So let's see. So we want DDD game config, player joins game. Oh, that's because it's not injected. Well, that'll do it. So, all right, let's not, let's do then the minimal possible. Let's go ahead and add that as a constructor parameter. Yes. This is a new seek dialogue sequence. I haven't seen this one before. And I'm curious if it reset one of my settings. But let's continue. So that's all fine. And yes, now player join game is not going to be happy. Let's make that happy. That's in our game config. Close, but not quite. We want player joins game. There we go. I don't know why Cody's adding a new line. And because I like my auto-wired annotations, even though they're not necessary. All right. I need to check some settings because I feel like something might have gotten reset. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for modal dialogue. Did they take it away? Ooh, I wonder if they took it away. Oh, they better not have taken it away. Refactoring? Where's refactoring? Languages. So many freaking settings. This is a problem with like tools, like they just grow configuration. Where the heck is it? It's key map, code editing. Oh no, okay. That's weird. So I looked for modal and it didn't show this. Okay, so that's still there. That's fine. Select cards. I think go on. Okay. That's interesting. So the reason why I was checking that is because I was surprised when I told it to add this parameter, and it went through what's basically the change signature refactoring, that it didn't bring that up as a modal dialog. So, but yeah, it couldn't find modal. Dang it. Okay. Let's see. All tests pass. Let's do a commit. It's funny. I don't read ebooks on my computer. I pretty much read them on my iPad. Except for the book club, then I read them on my computer. But I have a Mac, so I can't help you with the Windows. So yeah, I've used Calibre on the Mac. I haven't used it as a reader. I've used it as a converter. Let's see. Added dependency for player joins game. Oh, we were gonna split this, weren't we? All right. Well, let's commit this. Push rejected. Oh, right. Let's merge. I updated the README online and I forgot to pull that. All right, so we should be good now. What is the README? Yes, that's all set. Okay, great. So what, right, because joining only requires this. It does not require the game creator, and it does not require the game store that we had created last time. So yeah, I think we should move this. So let's move this. And I'm gonna make this static even though it's broken. Let's see if it'll let me move it anyway. What I want to move it to is not lobby, but something next to lobby, which is what do I want to call this thing? Joiner? Game joiner? Sure, why not? No, this is when they're actually sitting down to play the game. So I saw something on Twitter flash by that I saved to read later about naming things like this as noun adjective. This is more noun verb. Game starter? The game might have already... Start is a tricky word. The game might have already been created. This will not start the game though. So the sort of order of operations is the game's created, people join, and then the game starts. So I'm just gonna say game joiner until I come up with something better. And we'll move that there and we'll create it. I don't care, refactor anyway. And then you didn't open up the target. And then let's grab, oh, let me paste the test before I forget. And this is actually the MVC test. And let's grab this stuff. But this is going to be not lobby, but game joiner. And we need the mock MVC, which I'll just let Cody do for me. That should be fine. Then we need to inject. So we're gonna delete this. Oops. So it removes the field, but it doesn't update this. So we'll save delete that. And then we'll go to our game joiner. Usher takes you to your table. That's possibly better, but I'm not sure it's as obvious. And gosh, I haven't been to anything where, I guess it's an usher. But yeah, they don't do that in movies anymore. They do that in for some concerts. Vicamus, have I ever used Vim? I have. I use it when I have no choice. And I certainly appreciate it as an editor. I also appreciate the quick maneuverability of the keystrokes. But my fingers are too tied to IntelliJ. Let's initialize in constructor or add constructor. No, I want to add a constructor parameter. And then we'll auto wire that. Oh, right, because this needs to be a controller. I'm like, why is it complaining? And why is this now red? Oh, because we're, yeah, got to get static. Thank you. All right, all that was basically split class along dependency lines. So everything should still now work because that was just a refactoring, except, oh, when I made the method static, that got updated. So we want that, and then we'd like to create that variable. Close, Cody, but not quite. We probably want to do a create null on this, so let's do that. And move that to game joiner. Right, and this test now has to move. Okay. What did I do up here? Yeah. So let's take this. Actually, let's go here. We'll create a new test, which is that, and then we'll basically grab that and move it over to here. Okay. And we'll flip that over, and game joiner got put in the wrong place, didn't it? No? Oh, it's green. It's not background green. Okay, good. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be pit boss. Um, yeah, if you walk into a casino and sit down at a game, I don't think there's anybody. I mean, I don't think there's anybody who leads you to a table, except maybe I don't know. We'll keep it as this. Hey there, Magic79. Want to see the game? I'd like to see the game too. We're still building it. This is the mock-up. So this is something like what it'll eventually look like. But we're quite a bit of ways from that. All right. So everything still passes after moving everything around. Okay, so what we want from join, the purpose of join, and why are you not formatted right? There we go. The purpose of join is to join an existing game. So what it takes is basically who you are, and the game handle, which is a human readable unique identifier, which is generated when we create the game. So this sort of the high level sequence, did I create a state machine for a game? I know I have it at the player level. For basically for sort of the playing the game, but I don't have a state machine for game as sort of the aggregate. Let's do that, because I think that'll make it clear in my head what's going on. So that's the board state machine. What we'll do is we'll create a new game state machine. So start UML. Ooh, Cody's also completing here. That's going to be interesting to see what it does here. So what do you think, Cody? See, now Cody's just cheating because it's basically just copying what's over here. So basically the nothing step to the first step is basically create. So host creates game. Oh right, I can't do that. I have to do this thing. And also, let's not do that. State game created. As game created. Binny asks, do I usually prefer using @controller or @controller @service or explicitly beaning up the adapter? So I think if what you're asking is, so here, this has to be a controller. There's kind of no way to avoid that, because this class not only is a bean, but it's a special kind of bean where it's going to look for post mapping and things like that. So I'm not sure if that's what you were asking, though. The only thing that I use @bean for is for things inside the hexagon that need to be injected into that need to be passed to the adapters. But this is in the adapter, so I totally let Spring do its work. But then in the TDD config, I provide these things which are inside the hexagon. And these are all generally service or service-like classes. Let me know if that didn't answer your question. Okay. All tests should still pass. And they do. We didn't really do much. We just started on our state machine. So from game created, boy, Cody is just not going to be helpful in this UML state machine, I can tell. Where we want to go to is basically player joins. Player joined. Oh, well, that was helpful, Cody. Except what it goes back to is actually not player joined, but actually it goes back to game created. Because we don't leave game created until the game is started. So game created goes to game started. Do I need a separate state for game in progress versus game started? I'm going to call it game in progress and we'll see how that works. And how you get there is, yes, host starts game. Thank you. What are you complaining about? Syntax error? This is a really interesting message because it says syntax error question mark. It's like, it's not sure if this is syntax error. What? Oh, that was weird. That was, and I've seen IntelliJ do this recently where there's like until you like move the cursor, it's like it's not reprocessing the data. I'm not finding a bug for that because I have no idea how to recreate that. Those are probably the most frustrating bugs of all because it's like happens randomly or pseudo randomly. Hey, Sweegie, welcome. So let's create another state for that. So state. That's helpful. Thank you. So the question is who starts a game? Can anybody start the game? Can only the host start the game? I think anyone should be able to start the game because the host might not even join the game. They might have just created it. So I think it's going to be player starts game. And this what we're doing here is this is really important. Like I am very much in favor of doing planning, especially when it involves state machines. Doesn't define the code that specific code that we're going to write, but it helps us think about like who can start, when can they start, things like that. Can someone join late? No, I don't think I want to support that. At least not for my first release. So one of the advantages of state machine is it tells you what you can or cannot do. So the only thing, so player joins can only happen when the game has been created but not yet started. So once it's started, then the only thing you can do is basically play. So player starts game, and then I think we're just into basically the other, where is it? The other state machine, because that's joins game, technically started game. Technically player's turn. No, it's this is the state machine for everything a player can do, so it's basically game started. So this is sort of the entry point into this state machine. Yeah, I forget how you do an off. Hey, reference another I'm just gonna leave it as this, because this is because I'm trying to figure out what are the allowable states for a game. Yeah, so the board state machine is per player, or per player right now. As I've mentioned before, the definition of a player is it's really pawn, but I'm not gonna have that level of indirection just yet. Because the variation is you're mobbing and there's only one pawn, and so there are multiple players controlling one pawn. So, but I'm not. That's one of those where it's like I know I will need it. I don't know if it's worth the complexity to introduce that early. It feels like it's gonna that would slow me down to introduce that level of indirection. So. But how do I want to do that? So when the game is over, you don't want it to go to some other screen. You might want to stay there for a bit. But then you're probably going to want a button that says end game. Okay, something like that. That's good enough for now. All right. So we can close that. Okay, so this test is disabled because we need to have join on the player joins game actually work. There should be nothing needed to support, hey, let's put the game on hold and we'll come back to it later. Because a player, if they join and they were already part of the game, they will just go into the game screen. And so if everybody does that, then the game will pick, right? The game is persisted, so it will pick up from where it left off. I mean, really, end game doesn't do anything other than put it in a state where it's over. Two different types of game. I'm not sure. What were you thinking of that were the two different types? Because an in-progress game is an in-progress game, whether like we disconnected and left it for a month and then came back, it'll pick up right where it left off. Oh, I see. One that's created and yet to start. That's possible. So sort of a bit of the state design pattern. That's possible. And so you basically say created game. So what I'm not sure of is that that's, since I'm using event sourcing, it feels like that's going to make it more complicated. There might be some state design pattern stuff going on, but yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm basically gonna say not yet, and we'll see. All right, so we're basically, and I should have marked this as deprecated because we want to use not this join, but this join. So let's go look at these tests. So there we go. Will it ever be so we would never have a reference to a game. This is wrong. This would always be some kind of identifier, of which game handles an identifier, which we may want to not have a string. Person, though, should be person ID. Right. This isn't being used yet, is it? It is. That's wrong. I'm going to fix you directly. Oh, okay. So this person ID. And that's person ID. Okay. That shouldn't have changed anything. Yes. Did you write that before I said perhaps game handle should be not a string, or did you write that after? I didn't see. But yes, as soon as I was looking at this, like, that probably shouldn't be a string. Okay, same time. I don't want to introduce it just yet. But it's going to come pretty quick. Oh, good, Jonas. All right, so we're just going to have to replace all these joins. So this one was just me figuring out what I wanted it to look like from here. But when I got to this point, I realized that it wasn't this one. So I'm going to be test driving this. I'm basically right now test driving, in a sense, doing a refactor of pointing this to this. So I'm going to translate all these tests to point at this. Because when I got here and I was trying to connect it to the game, I didn't have a game here, and that's when I realized there was a mismatch. So this, so if I can't, so if this is a command and I say join, what is the impact on the system? I should be able to ask the game if the player has joined. Yeah, and that's going to lead me to the GameStore. I may not be able to deprecate this just yet. I mean, I may not be able to replace it just yet. So if I change this to be this and then game handle and person dot ID, this will not. Yeah, I think this will be now test driving new behavior. So this will fail because there's no connection. Clearly, there's no possible connection between a game handle and an actual game, because this has no references to translating a handle to a game. So that fails as expected. So let's. So in Game Creator, we've created a game. Why are you on the wrong side? Which does save it in the GameStore. So that means if we inject the GameStore here, private final. Oh, you're right. It is GameStore. And now we'll add a constructor parameter. And now here, we should be able to say GameStore. Oh, look, we don't have a find game by handle, which Cody is saying that I should use. Looks like we'll have to write that, because that is what we want. Although I want to call it just find by handle. So we're going to disable this test. And all of those constructors don't work. So let's fix that. Let's create an empty constructor. But what we'll do is we'll basically say, I think we can do that, and then I'd like to convert this into a factory method. And then I can basically grab this, put it in here, and then get rid of this constructor. So that should work other than this method that doesn't exist. Excellent. All right, I need to take a quick stretch break. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and go to GameStore. We'll go to the lobby of the GameStore. No, just kidding. And then test drive the find by handle. Oh, is the background music distracting? I don't know. It's random stuff. I'll skip it. All right. I'll be right back. Enjoy the coffee break. All right, and we're back. Symmetric 7 and I have the feeling to understand the project without understanding it. Yeah, I mean, as Astrid says, like if you're watching this and you've got questions, you're not interrupting me, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Okay, so let's go to our GameStore test. Do we not have a GameStore test? I guess we did it indirectly with the game creator. So we'll go ahead and create. That's not a question, Jonas. I'm going to ignore that. All right, so, whoops. So I find it interesting that Cody was willing to write the first part of the test and not like the whole test. That's just interesting. Not at all helpful. So what we want is Astrid, no, it is not possible to sort of donate the passing test points to someone else. At least as far as I know. Yeah, as far as I know, there's no way to do that. Doesn't mean you can't like redeem them on behalf of another viewer. Okay, so we'll create our game store. I wonder if Cody is sort of interfering with IntelliJ's ability to update itself. I wonder if that's what's going on. Cody is not creative at all here. And then we'll save the game. Yes, that's what we want. And that will be equal to game. So I'll create the method. Certainly not Boolean. I don't know why it thought it would be Boolean. game. Do I have equals on game? I don't think I have a unique identifier. Equals is probably not going to work. Yeah, it's basically like, did you find it? That's all I need to know. So this will certainly fail because we're returning null. But we're going to need some stuff here. So let's go and implement toString. I don't think I want the events in a toString. That would be not useful. Do I want the player map? Maybe. So that should give us better output. Yep. Oh, thanks, Luigi. Let's go take a look. That's interesting that it thinks this is somehow a generated file, and so it won't load the diff. I mean, not that I care. I just find that interesting. I don't need to review the changes. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's my guess, is because it's in a .idea folder. And so it is a generated file, but it's curious. I guess that makes sense. Okay, so that's closed. So now, do I have to close and open the project? Clearly I do. Let's try that. Hey, where'd it go? Why is it all the way down here? Excellent. Thank you for that, Sweetie. What plugin are you trying to update? Oh, I'll update you later. Okay. We don't need person ID open. We don't need game view. Yeah, so this color scheme is basically what I use in all my hexagonal architecture diagrams. Yeah, and I have a video up on YouTube to show how to do that in case you don't know. That's weird. These are not the files I had open when I closed it. All right. So we got game here, but what we want is, no, not that. Where is GameStore test? There it is. Okay, so this fails for the right reason. Yeah, those files you can totally copy. also get them out of Ensembler. Yeah. So I'm probably going to need an equals, which means I'm probably going to need an identifier. Do I want the identifier? I probably want the identifier at the event sourced aggregate level. Uh-oh. That's weird. I seem to have, IntelliJ seems to have gotten confused and lost my run configurations. There is a bug somewhere in IntelliJ, and I've run into this before, where it somehow gets confused about the run configurations and doesn't load them up. No, because they're stored in a known location with a known file name. There shouldn't have been, and it's not even in the idea directory. I bet if I close the project and open it up again, it'll work. Nope. Let's do this. Oy. IntelliJ, you're gonna drive me crazy. Let's do this. What is validate? Oh, validate must do validate against an XML schema. Let's restart IntelliJ. Because I'm nothing without my test run configurations. Scan, 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 scan. Oh, why is Cody unhappy? Oh, now Cody's happy. No, Cody's unhappy. Cody encountered an unexpected error. We can always blame Cody. Oh, I gotta, ugh. All right, I'm not gonna do that now. I have to look, there they are. So clearly, exiting and restarting, right? Turn it off and on. All right. So, I am unhappy though about it kicking out my presentation assistant. I thought I did it for 2024.star, but I may not have. Oh, no worries. Totally not your fault, 3G. Uh, do I want to fall back to... Well, I'll do this for now. That means I got to update my fork. How you doing, Cody? All right, Cody looks good. So let's run my IO free tests. Right, we were looking at adding an identifier for event sourced aggregate. Boy, I hate the new presentation assistant. Maybe hate's too strong. I dislike it. So do we want to put an identifier here? Who creates the identifier? What did we do? Oops. Yeah, so we did it as part of the constructor. And eventually I probably will need this last event IDs as well. So when creating I mean, I could cheat and I could say if the game handles are equal, that's basically a surrogate identifier. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cheat. And when I get to actually persisting stuff, that's when I'll need identifiers. Or at some point I will need a non-handle identifier, and then I'll use that. So we're going to create an equals and hash code. It's interesting that there's no easy way without the keyboard to say, no, select only this. Yes, and it should not be no. Because you cannot create it without a handle. Okay, so that'll work. This will still fail because we're returning null. But now we can go here and we can say, I think I'm just going to do a prepare refactoring. Let's do that. So we want games not to be an array list. We would like it to be, here I am looking for a refactor. Can you change this to a map? I don't think it's going to do that for me. So what we want is a final map of, well, for now, game handle to game. And that's our game map. And that's a terrible idea. We want a hash map. And then find all, if we return games dot game map dot values, that returns a collection. So we'll do that. That's kind of ugly. And here it's game map that. And yes, we are probably going to want an optional on this. And then I can get rid of this. So I should have not broken anything else, and this current test should pass. Excellent. What are all these other changes? Oh, because I changed that. Okay. Yep. So now let's write a test. Yeah, I'd probably put the in the create method, it would do a constraint check there. Yes, in fact, we would like is empty. Which won't currently work, so let's go and refactor this. Can I migrate this to an optional? That's probably not worth it. I guess that's fine. So this now needs to be is present. And then get. And then is equal to game. Why is it complaining about that? The get should have resolved that. In fact, I don't need the is present. Wrong get? How could it be the wrong get? Because it says it's an abstract object assert capture of game. On the value of the optional. I wonder if it doesn't know the type. Let's see. Yeah, that works. I think it just doesn't know the type because of this weird thing. So if I wanted to, I could put in what is it? Instance of assert factory. What is it? Instance of assert factories, and then type, and then game.class. I still don't understand why it thinks that's an optional. This is most certainly an object assert on game. I think IntelliJ is confused. I mean, yeah, I could say contains exactly, or just contains, yeah. The question is, what is the failure going to look like? So let's look at the failure mode. Okay, that's reasonable. Expecting the optional to contain what I was looking for, but was empty. So that's fine. I mean, if I really wanted, I could say is present as well. I don't think that's any better. Yeah, I think it's actually clearer this way. Yeah, I can do has value. What does that error message look like? I always think of optional though as sort of being a very mini collection. I wonder if internally it delegates, one of these delegates to the other. Yes. So has value just delegates to contains. So I'm going to keep it as contains. That's funny. I am fine with it just using equals. Yes. All right, so let's return this to the correct thing, and now it should pass. We do indeed have some game tests for reconstitution. We do not, though, have we are not currently, right, our GameStore is not persisting events just yet. Yeah, yeah. We'll get there, but not for a while. All right, Astrid. Hope your working day tomorrow is not too bad. All right, so this test will fail. Sorry, this test passes now. So let's commit. So we're just returning optional. Okay, what else do we need? What did we need from here? And then what did we need? We don't need that, we don't need that, and we don't need these. So now we have find by handle. And we can var that up. Right now I'm gonna say or else throw. So that gets us our game to join. Then we do the join, and then we do the save. Technically, the test isn't asking me to do the save, but I'm just going to do it anyway. All right, so that means in not this test, but this test. So now we can re-enable it, and this should work. Or not. Probably because create new game did not save, is my guess. No, it did. So where did it throw? It threw here. Oh, because it's not sharing the game store. Got it. Yep. So I'm just thinking about this. All right, so let's actually convert and game creator. Okay, so then we should be actually calling the constructors on these. There we go. All right, so that works. I don't think I need this because I get that assertion here. So we can delete that. So now we can get rid of this. Says first person .id game handle, and we're going to need to do the same thing that we did here. This is the second time I'm doing that. And so now what I think we can assert instead is assert that game players map them to the person ID contains exactly that, and then I don't know what Cody is doing in terms of adding curly braces, but that was really messed up. Can I inline this? What does that look like? Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Let's... Because I don't actually need the person, I just need the ID. Okay. I believe this will pass. Because it's now a refactoring. Because I'm targeting the new join method, which is this one. And that does pass. So here in this one, and this is the third time we're going to do this, so let's refactor this. Uh-oh. Error. So this is a fixture. Are you not going to finish the refactoring now? Wow. That was interesting. That took forever. So yes, clearly there is some bug somewhere. Whoops. Yeah. Oh my. All right. Extract. Okay, I think I'm gonna restart and open up non-EAP because this is now dead. Won't even let me report. Interesting. No, I'm not going to report a Cody bug. Oh, is it literally reporting 100 bugs? Oh dear. All right, let's clear those. I reached my quota for the next 3 months. I'm counting that as one bug report, and that's not really a bug report. That's a self-monitoring thing. But I think I am going to step back from the bleeding edge. Too bad I don't get paid by the bug report. I'm actually a little surprised that the limit for the bugs that it's sort of self-tracking is 100. Seems like 50 would be sufficient. Let's clear all those. All right. Let's rebuild project just to be sure. And run our IO-free tests. That all passes. So we're basically removing usages of this method. So let's go find the next usage, which is here. Right, so we had just created the fixture, so we want to do that again, which is now create fixture. Let's take this and move this down. Looks like this will need to use the fixture as well. So may as well replace that one while we're at it. And it looks like it didn't replace any of the other usages. That's a bummer. Well, that was so to be fair, what I was using was the not even beta, not even release candidate, early access version of IntelliJ. In general, IntelliJ is super stable. And I'm sorry if you're a Java developer and using Eclipse, I'm sorry. I think if you try IntelliJ, you will be and get used to it. I think you'll be happier. So let's fix this. So fixture, create fixture, and then fixture dot, and then we can replace this with fixture dot. Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, I Eclipse, I know of a project where their framework is based on basically OSGI, and there's some Eclipse stuff, and it's kind of a mess. 4.4 not found. What's the purpose of fixture? So the purpose of fixture is because Java cannot return multiple values from a method. And so I'm creating the same setup every time, which is basically create a GameStore, pass that GameStore into this player joins game, and then create the game and save it, or create the game via that game creator, which uses the GameStore. And so if I extract the method, since I'm using multiple values that are being created here, IntelliJ is actually smart enough to do basically a two-step refactoring. Create a record to hold the two values that I need, and then create the method that then creates that record. So then in my tests, I basically just create the fixture, and now I can reference the game and reference basically the target object. So that's that, and then we'll do the same thing here. Replace that with fixture. Normally when it works correctly, it will find duplicates and then refactor the other ones to look like it, but because it crashed, it didn't do that. It does make the it doesn't, it makes the readability of the test a little bit worse. But it's a trade-off. So let's fix these now one by one. So this one is now using the new method. This one, we don't need person, we just need person ID. So let's do that. That's actually just person ID. And don't need that. And that needs dot handle. So in this case, my assertion is not this, but basically that the player's has size of 1. No, 2. And not 3. Okay. So Suiji says I may not need the game creator. Well, the game creator is the application level, which is doing the assigning of the handle and saving of the game. So I kind of am okay with that. Because otherwise I have to manually create a game and then manually pass in a handle when I don't really care about the handle. Let's see if that passes. All right. This is technically more is not added as new player when already player in game. I think that's it. So I think join is no longer used. Oh, it's used here. Let's fix that. Oh, look, we don't need this map. We can just do person ID. And then this is player joins game. And then this is person ID. And this is game handle. What's going on? Long. Oh, because those are longs. There we go. All right, Jonas, have a good rest of your day. See you next time. Oh. Oh, right, because I'm not using the fixture. Let's go use the fixture. So you do feels like at some point want to have a game factory or builder instead of going through the application every time. Possibly. I mean, right now going through the application layer, it's a little bit of work. Eventually that'll get harder, and then yeah, I'll probably want to do that. All right, so all our tests are now passing. This method is no longer being called, right? Right. And so now we can delete it. And we'll run all the tests. What did we not set up properly here? We probably didn't set up join because this game handle doesn't exist. So now we'll need some test infrastructure for that. Magic, that's not something I ever worry about. No manager that I'd work for would come and say, show me what it looks like when they know that I'm doing test-driven development. Because I would have proven myself time and time again that I release stuff that works almost always the first time when you look at it. Let's fix this. So the problem here is that we're sending in this parameter. This handle does not exist. Sorry. Do I have these reversed? No, game handle. This is the game handle. This does not exist, and so therefore it's failing to find it. Let's go and we're importing this game config. We probably want to make a copy of this and make this test configuration. And so we'll put it in here. And then we'll call it test config, not terst. Actually, I'm not sure that's necessary. And yeah, I mean, all the tests are passing. There isn't much to show because there's not much in the UI, but we could certainly show it. And yeah, they wouldn't, and it's true, I'm using CI, so they'd be able to go look for themselves. And I just realized I didn't need to do this. So let's go undo this. Because I don't want to mock it, I actually just want to auto wire it. I want to auto wire the game creator. Because in the config, it will use a GameStore that is shared. Oh, it's not shared. Let's fix that. What does this take? New. And it takes a GameStore. we'll go ahead and have that injected. Yeah, so I'm honestly, you know, still getting used to using nullables. I'm also not quite sure if I'm using them 100% correctly. But absolutely, I do not want create null used from production code. Yeah, that's definitely a new rule. And since I've learned how to do that, I can write that rule. Yeah, I think what I'm wondering about is, do I want these create methods, or do I want production to only use the constructor? Because I am finding, and I found this when I was pairing with James as well, that I was getting confused between the create and the create null. I really feel like create null should just be create for test. So then I can call, instead of nullables, testables. I know James was not like 100% happy with null being in the name. So, all right. But let's add that to, let's actually add that as an issue. So one thing I found is that, not here. What I want is, where's my Jira? Here. So this is, I don't know, tooling. Oh, maybe that makes sense. In JavaScript, it's probably it probably makes more sense because you're, or at least in any non-dependency injection environment, maybe that distinction makes sense. Thanks. That like confirmed my feeling that using the constructor is the right thing to do. Since as Spring Boot a lot of times has to call it anyway. Okay, I'm going to take another quick break. And when we come back, what we'll do is we'll check to see that this test is fixed. Because right now this is broken. We'll fix this one up. Once that's done, I probably want to pop back out. I think I have a disabled test, so we'll take a look at that as well. So I will be back shortly. All right, we're back. I caught myself like staring at the coffee video for a minute, and I'm like, oh wait, I should get back to coding. Yeah, I think there's like even though I paired with James on the nullables, I don't consider myself an expert either. I think I need to adapt it to how I'm using it with the testable architecture. And I need to probably sit and think about it for a bit. But anyway, what we wanted to do here was we wanted to say, really? It's strange that like Cody chose create game as opposed to create new game when the code literally says create new game. I wonder how much context it's providing, because that's a miss. So this is the name of the game. And then this we can say game.handle. See, like, handle's right there. There is no get game handle. Yeah, the configured response is really where things become really interesting with nullables. Yeah. All right, that worked. Let's go commit. And so we'll commit and push. Yeah, I mean, I agree that create new might seem redundant. Somehow it feels more explicit. And if Cody were just randomly saying, you know, game creator, and I'm going to return a game, I could totally see it saying create game. But like the code's there in game creator with a method called create new game that returns a game. And so I'm just like, does it not have enough context? Is it not using this context to decide what to propose? And clearly the answer is no, it's not. So that'll be some more feedback I'll provide to the source graph folks. All right, so all the tests pass. Let's go find that disabled test. This one is a separate thing. Let's go to this one. This is now available. So this is where it would be really nice. And I don't know, maybe I might write my own annotation. Actually, I had been looking into this. I totally forgot. I was looking into this where you would be able to disable a test until another test passes, and you'd specify what that test was. And last time I looked at it, it was like, oh, that's not as straightforward as it seems because there's no standard order to how tests are run. They're sort of pseudo-randomized. So it is possible to write a JUnit extension that would say, disable this test until this other test passes. So it's possible to do that, but it's not as straightforward as I had hoped. There are conditionals in JUnit, and there's the JUnit Pioneer library that extends some stuff, but none of those do what I want, which is disable this until this other test passes and then run it, because then it will either pass or fail, and I'll know about it. But since this now exists, we can go ahead and delete that. And so this will not work because the game that's created is not in the store. But let's run it just to be sure. Right. Okay, so now we don't want what do we want here? Oh, better error message for like, I couldn't find your game? Yeah, probably. What, no value present is not obvious? I mean, this was temporary. Anyway, so do I want to throw an exception, or do I want to return a failure result? I think I'm not sure what I want here yet. But I think at least for now, a better error message would be nice. Let's go into our tests. So we've got game is full. So what have we got here? Oh, these are lambdas. So it's a little annoying that all these arrows, all these expandable tree nodes look the same, but they are of a different nature. This one is a record. These just are lambdas. And like, if they're just lambdas, I don't need to see them. And I guess I could uncheck this, and that does it. Except I don't know if this is configurable. Is this configurable like on a... Because what I'd like is for test classes, don't show me the lambdas. I don't know if I ever use it anyway. Let's leave it like that. All right, anyway, I was looking through the test because I wanted to see if I need to start splitting them into nested. Since I'm about to write a second case, let's do that. So our next test is so let's see. So what do we want to do here? We just want a player joins game, create null, and I think there's an illegal argument exception that we want. I like how it shows 42. That was a nice that's probably the message we want, except I'm not ready to do that yet. So right now it throws no such element exception. Is that what it throws? So we'll get that instead of the illegal argument. Yep, no such element. Let's go fix that. Oops. So that should pass. uh, That's interesting. Oh, that's the test that kicked off the fact that, all right. I'm like, why is that test failing? Now we just have a slightly better error message, although not yet. And now let's actually get the better error message. So this will fail because we're not getting the message, along with the other test. And so now we can just grab that. I think that should pass. Yep. And now we get the nicer error message for here. So awesome. Let's commit. All right, so we'll commit that. And now we can go to the failing test and fix that. Hey, look at that! It's Don't Blame Me 99.99. Bringing a party over. Welcome, folks. Doing some Java Spring Boot development. Trying to bring this game, which is currently this physical game, trying to bring this game to the world of most people are remote, so they can't play this game when it's physical, or at least not as easily. And so trying to bring it to this, but it's still early days yet. This is only like the sixth stream of me working on this. But welcome, thanks for bringing your family over. So this fails because we are creating the game outside the context of the GameStore. And what do we want to do here? So, right. So we want a couple of things to happen. When you join a game, we join the game, which we'll have to fix. We'll also have to deal with the redirect. Where do we want to redirect them to is... Where do we want to redirect them to? So in our... in our game state machine, when so the game's been created, you join the game, where do you go? Because you're no longer in the lobby, right? Because you've joined a game, so now you're in the as Astrid suggested, are you now in the foyer? Are you now in the hallway? Or are you basically, oops, not that. Are you basically here and then you're just waiting? You're just waiting for these folks to fill in? Because you might not be the first person to join. You're waiting for the elevator. It's a single floor play area. I actually think it makes sense to you're here, and you're just waiting. And you're just waiting for the other players. And so something like, you know, this one will be, let's see, something like that in some other font. I think that's what I'll do. So, because so things like shuffling the deck, dealing the cards, right. So the cards would not have been dealt. Whether I shuffle the cards now or when when you click the start game button, I don't think matters. So these will all be empty anyway. And I'll probably just highlight them different when it's waiting for a player to join the game. So then we are redirecting you to basically game in progress. Which is what we said here. No, so game created. So this is the game state, but what you see is you see the game when it's not yet in progress, and you have to start it. Yeah, that's fine. So the created game is where we're at. Okay. So that means what we'll want is that the redirect page is equal to that. And that's the page that will be have all the HTMX goodness and WebSocket connections and things like that. Boy, I really, as tempting as it is to say like, oh, shouldn't we have a chat area? I am trying to not do that. Again, sort of my assumption is if you are playing this game, you're using some other mechanism such as Zoom or Discord or Slack huddles or whatever to communicate verbally and see webcams and stuff like that. If I ever make money off this thing, then I would certainly look to integrate that, but that's sort of a solved problem, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so this is failing because this does not exist in the game store. So here's where I think the nullables, this is the right thing to do, is basically just say and treat this game as already existing. Because in a sense, this is a pre-configured response, I guess. So let's create another method that takes a game. And I guess we pass that down. Wonder if this is how I should have done it before. No, I think I needed access to multiple things. Because right now create null just does new game store, but it's the one that has the game store. So let's see. So what are we testing here? We are testing that the game joiner talks to the rest of the system. So if that's true, then what we're saying is we want a new game joiner, which takes a player joins game. So I guess that is the one that has game. That makes sense. So we don't put it here. We go here. And so I have to admit, as much as I like the names like Game Joiner as the controller, I actually am finding it a little confusing um, that it doesn't have the word controller in it. So it's nice and meaningful, but I do feel like I am not able to like that what's basically secondary notation um, that we talked about in our book club. The colors help a little bit, but I wonder if I've sort of gone too far. So game loader. No, it's not a game loader. It is a game joiner. It is the controller for that adapts between the outside world and allows players to join games. So the name is correct. It's just not. What's missing is some kind of secondary indicator that it has a role of being the controller or being the adapter. All right, well, I'm going to let that stew in the back of my head. In the meantime, what I'd like is to create another method. Create a game store, save the game, and then do that. So now, this is not a valid player ID. I don't think I can assert on the player ID at this level. And of course I can't because I'm like, how would I even know what that is? It's because I don't have any relationship now. So what I'm missing now is a person store. So there has to be a way to translate the principal. And actually, I think I'm going to need more details than this. Because I am going to need their identifier. So I'm going to need, I'll have to look, I'll probably need a custom authentication object that has the ID in it. Yeah, that's fine. But for now, this is actually what I want. That's surprising. All right, so somewhere I am not doing something right. So, yeah. These are two different IDs. So what do I expect? This is not the ID I want because I actually have no idea what the player ID is going to be. So we're getting players, but we actually want to extract is that. Yeah. Thank you, Suiji. So let me do something. I feel like something was not as obvious as it could have been. No, I just think they're just really close in terms of names. So I probably want to look at something other than person ID. As much as I hate user, having something that doesn't start with a P, I think this is not the first time I've been confused like that. Well, nothing's coming to mind other than user, and I really dislike that term, but I may have to use it. No pun intended. Let's put that in Jira. Ugh. Well, let's see what Cody suggests. So it suggests account. Account is as bad as user, but maybe that's what it needs to be. I mean, of account or user, I think user is probably better because it represents that person. Individual. Yeah. Problem with individuals is it is less like player ID, but it's actually just too many syllables. I'd like to keep it to 2 syllables. So member is another possibility. I use that in Ensembler, which clearly I think it cribbed from. That might be better. Or user. What else you got, Cody? No, we've got person. Yeah, now you just yeah. All right. That's going to be a future thing. All right. So now that we've clarified, thanks to Suiji's help, what we are trying to determine is the player joined. Of course, we don't know anything about this principle, because that's too generic. What we really want is an object. Is it a user details? So yeah, so probably user details. I'd create an implementation of that. So user is a reference implementation that I could use. The question will come when I do OAuth authentication. Where do I correlate the username with this ID? Well, I guess I think I can worry about that later. So I think if I ask for a user details, I think I'd need my custom, whoops. I think I'd need my custom implementation. Let me make the rest of the test pass, and then we'll worry about that. So this is currently failing because the, oops. I didn't mean to do that yet. Oh, right, I didn't refix it. So this should be person ID. Ah. No, it's still player that I'm extracting from, but it's person ID that I'm extracting, and then this is person ID. Okay. So that should now pass, and we should get the redirect being wrong. All right, and I can fix that. And that should now pass. So let's do a commit. So that's, so we basically had gone outside in. Everything works all the way to the GameStore, to the persistence. So I believe we can take a look at our template. And we can actually, so we can host a new game. That works. And I think now we can actually join a game, and that will redirect to a page that doesn't yet, an endpoint that doesn't yet exist. Game in progress. That endpoint needs to indicate which game you've just joined. So it won't be as straightforward a redirect. I'll need to have some identifier for the game. So because of course we're going to have multiple games going on at the same time. But for now, this should, I think, should be able to go and run it. All right, and let's take a look. Oh yeah, I gotta log in. Now that works. No games currently available to join. Host a new game, so we'll give it a name. Host game. Now we've got Chili Swan 97 as a game we can join. So go ahead and do that. And as expected, we are redirected to game in progress. So that's exactly what we expected. So hey, now if my manager says, hey, how's it looking? We can say, look, you can host a game and you can join it. You can't see the game. There's nothing in the game. But we've got the lobby, at least the most basic features done. And look, player count is 1. And if I try to rejoin it, player count is still 1. If I log out and I log back in as, I think Green is another user. Oh, the player ID is person ID is hard coded, so of course it's always, I'm just rejoining the same game. I forgot. Yes, no static resource. Game in progress. Because there's no endpoint for that, which is again completely as expected. Okay. Glorious. So what's next? This is now GameStore. Does not use the event source storage model yet. I am doing that. So I'm going to check that off. So let's see. So post mapping that creates player in the game for the person. That happens underneath. And redirects to the page that shows the game. So I think that's done. And so therefore, this is done. And therefore, well, for the most part, there is still the whole idea of multiple players. So the next thing I could do is actually start the game. But I think before that, this is really step 5, because step 4, well, Cody, you're close. It's not host starts game. It's waiting for a game to start. It's funny. There's like, do I want the host to invite specific people, and then the game is ready to start when those specific people have joined? I mean, that's certainly a future feature, but I'm not going to worry about that now. So what do we want when we're waiting for the game to start is so the game was created, one person has joined. I think you can only start the game at this point. So I think what I want is when you're here and you're waiting for other players to join, I think I want kind of a modal dialogue, or at least a modal thing. Not quite sure what I want that to look like. So this is waiting for game to start, and let's fix this font because this font is pretty terrible for this. So the idea of this is that something like that to notify you of what's going on, and then there'll be let's do this, and then there'll be some kind of button. Oops. Oh, come on. There we go. Where'd the box go? Here it is. And this will be, I don't know. This will also be, this will be white. This will be green. Good enough. Yeah, there's no room in the game for Ken. Too bad. So something like this, and that's the game waiting to start. If I had more space, I'd like put it to the right or put it at the bottom or something, but I think this is what I want. We can make this tad smaller. All right. So let me group these things. And then when the game starts, then you get the rest of the stuff. Okay. So I think then what's next under the adapter. Okay, Cody, be quiet. Apparently there's no quick way to turn off Cody, which is really annoying. Unless there's a way to tell it not to autocomplete. So this is a text file. Where would text files be? Plain text? Yeah, don't do that. Okay. So the icon doesn't do anything. There's nothing here. I don't understand that. Well, there's no way to, I mean, as far as I know, there's no way to like, I would have expected like disable Cody to be an option here, and it's not. Doesn't, just nothing here. So I don't know if that's a bug or if that's I think it's a bug, or certainly a missing feature, because I'd expect to be able to like disable the thing quickly, which is what I'd prefer, because sometimes I just want to turn it off and then turn it back on rather than having to go into the plugin settings and disable it. So that's definitely something I'll tell the SourceGraph folks about. So here, so join the game. When we redirect to the game in progress page, so initially the modal will be the only thing that appears. We'll show that, and then So that's our next sort of high level feature. That'll force us to do things like, well, now you need to have more than one person joining because the person ID is currently hard coded. And so that'll force us to associate with, so whether that's a custom user object, I'll have to look at that. I'll have to look around and see what would work best here. And that will also require me to create will I need a person store? So I think when they join, then I'll pull in I think when they join the game, and so there's a player. Yeah, I'll probably want to store that information inside of player. Why does it have a problem with logged in? I don't care about hyphenating. I know what I mean. Okay. So there's some stuff I need to figure out for the security. I can probably still fake it for now with my terrible basic authentication. When I create a user, I'm already creating a user details. So it's got a username, a password, roles. But I will actually have to... So that's using the standard user. I'll have to create a custom thing. Yeah, so I'll probably start with extending user. And then I'll get the first name and ID. Or do I look up in my local database? Maybe I look up in my local database. I have to know who they are locally anyway. The OAuth is not going to tell me that. It's just going to really just going to use the OAuth for authentication. What's really authorization, I'll keep locally. So then I can just and then I can get the name. So they log in, I have their username, which by definition has to be unique. I can look that up in my person store, grab their first name, grab their identifier, hand that in to so here I would get the user. Actually, principal is good enough because the name is all I'm going to be looking at. So principal is good enough. From principal, I can get their name, which is their username. And so this join will that might get pushed into a use case layer. So that might change. So then once I have that, I think once I have that, then I can actually work, then I can go work on the modal, which is as players join, I'll be hooking up a WebSockets using HTMX. And that's what I'll do next time. Yep. All right, that's all for today. So thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks to Don't Blame Me 99 for the raid. Appreciate it. And so stream schedule. I'm going to be streaming just about every day this week. As always, if you want to know the most up-to-date schedule, join the Discord. In the announcements channel, you'll see at least right now, the tentative schedule. I believe I'm streaming tomorrow, and then a pair stream with Mike on Wednesday. But stay tuned to the announcements channel for that. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your help, Sweegie. Thanks for all the comments and questions. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time.